Unit 8, Poetry of Andrew Marvell, To His Coy Mistress. To His Coy Mistress is one of the memorable poems written by the famous English poet Andrew Marvell. It is most likely written in 1650s in the midst of the English interregnum. The poem was not published until 1680s. The poem is published after the death of Andrew Marvell. To His Coy Mistress is a carpe diem, is a best example of Roman poets like Horace. I'm sorry. It urges a young woman to enjoy the pleasures of life before death claims her. In the same process, Andrew Marvell dwells his lady love before his death. Let me explain the biography of Andrew Marvell. Andrew Marvell, the son of a lecturer at Holy Trinity Church and the master of Charterhouse. His father name is Reverend Andrew Marvell. Andrew Marvell was born on March 31st, 1621. Marvell began his school education at Trinity College, Cambridge, where he learnt Latin and Greek. He published his first anthology in his college days. After completing his degree, he stayed at Trinity and he completed his master's degree in the year 1641. In 1640s, Marvell traveled extensively on the continent, adding Dutch, French, Spanish, and Italian to his Latin and Greek, missing the English civil wars entirely. Though his poem written between 1645 and 1649, he had evinced royalist sympathies. He is commonly acknowledged as a masterful piece of political poetry, and his works are always admired. Marvell's was a tutor to Mary Fairfax, who is the daughter of Lord General Fairfax, a retired Commonwealth general who lived at Nun Appleton, and here he wrote some memorable poems like Music Empire, Upon Appleton House, My Lord Fairfax, and other famous also. And this is the text of the poetry To His Coy Mistress. So let's explain the critical analysis of the poem To His Coy Mistress. So this poem is written in iambic pentameter, which consists of 4 iambic foot. And this is not the most commonly used iambic pentameter because iambic pentameter always used with 5 iambic feet. Penta means 5. So then it is usually has 5 iambic feet. And iamb means an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. It is also interesting to notice that this poem is written much like a poetic thesis, with the problem at the forefront followed by the current predicament and ending with the solution. From all point of view, the loverland gentleman who is trying to get his beloved affection. The lines in the poem are compared to the closed couplet form. The closed couplet form means each line of the poem rhyme with the line next to it actually. Such a couplet form presents an idea in the unit of 2 lines actually. And this closed couplet is used by the great famous poets Alexander Pope, John Dryden, and Andrew Marvell. And the rhyme scheme of the poem is AB, AB. In the first stanza of the poem, which actually contains 10 couplets, which is in the form of a love, which elaborates the lofty heights the gentleman wish only for his lady love to give into his sexual advance, so The use of the traditional love elegy format. This was written at a time when such emotion was not freely expressed. The beauty of the language and the overwhelming focus on the woman's beauty, this respect is shown therein, makes the poem quite progressive of its time. The poet begins the poem by explaining to his lady how he would go about worshipping her if he had the time. He returns to their love into far more than the poem can hold by using expressions such as love you 10 years before the flood. And he compares his love as a vegetable love. I'm sorry. And he states that it would take 100 years to praise her eyes. It would take 200 years to praise her forehead. It would take many years to praise her breast. And the rest of her body would be praised in 30,000 years. All above to his coy mistress doesn't denigrate or mock the lady appearance, such as Shakespeare's My Mistress. Eyes are nothing like the sun. The use of what is known as erotic blossom, taken directly from Petrarchian love poetry, that is Italian format, that emphasizes the lady of the speaker's affection. This is the truest form of love that man feels as though he can manage. In the next stanzas, the mood of the poem swings abruptly. There was a little haste or rush. The poet took his time describing the woman's beauty and all the ways she deserves to be worshipped, producing, therefore, a flowing, relaxed poem that does not rush itself to the end. And he shifted the mood and pleading and urgent, telling the lady he hears time winged chariot hurrying near. That is, I'm, so, I'm sorry, death is nearing him. Now he, less prizing of his woman's beauty, tells her that he does not have the time to worship her as she fits to her. Time is always hurrying closer and closer. And he has valid time to describe her beauty. Her beauty will fade, her virginity will turn to dust, along with her honor. So all the waiting will be, it is implied for naught. The feeling of forbidding, although light, is definitely there. In the last concluding lines, the mood brightens again. The poet has found a solution. They should embrace each other now while they have the time. Be together now, they are young and beautiful, and not to think about the future. Now let us sport while we may, says the poet, urging his lady love to listen to him. Sport is commonly used. He compares them to amorous birds of prey. And the imagery of recoiling passion, the poet wants to tear our pleasures with rough strife. Note that the last set of line is most poetically proficient of all things. The feeling is very much a plea, that means a pleading, a request not to waste the time that they have. The poet maintains a light-hearted tone through the end of the poem. In the summary, you could understand that this poem is a perfect example of metaphysical poetry. The Andrew Marvell belongs to the second generation of metaphysical poetry. He used metaphysical conceits and other elements in the poem to his coy mistress, like the comparison of coyness, crime, vegetable love, time, chariot. So these are all the metaphysical conceits used by Andrew Marvell in the poem to his coy mistress. And these are the key terms which help you to understand the technical terms which is explained in the poem. And these are all the terminal questions. Thank you.